Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our final go-to webinar of the year for our Connected Educators Series 2017-2018. Thanks, everyone, for making it on. I'm going to make sure I show my screen now. There we are. So welcome. I'm so glad you could join us, and it's nice to have ourselves here together at a time where it's still light out. Normally we're starting our chat and it's dark as anything. So spring is coming, whether it feels like it or not. So this evening, we'll get ourselves started in just a moment with a prayer. I want to give you some background information on our agenda this evening before we get ourselves going here. First of all, I always like to make a reminder that our archive of this webinar will go on our YouTube page. So that way it's easily accessible for you later on or for you to share with your colleagues in the future. With that, if you ask a question verbally, if we throw the mic to you at all in that case, know that your face isn't showing or different things like that. And if you would rather not have a voice there, don't worry about asking a verbal question. That's why we have our back channel chat. Tonight, we will have some snapshots of different teacher-tested, teacher-approved tools with a whole wide variety of uses. We're going to look at YouTube, Plickers, Flipgrid, and have a little bit of overtime with Bill on Google Keep, which I'll fill you in on later. And that chat window, which I already saw, is hopping already, everybody. That's great. Feel free to continue the conversation going all throughout there. We'll check in with Annabelle and the team as we go through there. So with that, before we get, or you know what, let me pop that up for you there. For today's meet, link is here. It's also in the chat window on the GoToWebinar platform panel for you there. If you don't see it there, you can just type in that web address, AOP Tech, todaysmeet.com/AOP Tech Webinar April. So feel free to join our discussion. So with that, let's take a moment and take a deep breath, and we can center ourselves and join me in prayer, please. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. God of wisdom, we thank you for all the gifts you have given us throughout this school year. We praise you for giving us life, for saving us in Christ, and for choosing us to be your people. As we come to the end of this school year, we voice our gratitude for the good things you have done in us, and we praise you for all you have shared in the work of this school year. We ask you to bless our students and our schools in your love. Give us refreshment and peace. We praise you through Jesus Christ, our Lord, who lives and reigns forever and ever. Amen. St. John Newman, pray for us. St. Isidore, pray for us. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. So up first this evening to share with us all things YouTube. I'm so excited about this one because YouTube is one of my very favorite all-time tools. Aaron is going to share with us all different tips and tricks and cool things about YouTube. So Aaron, I'm going to pass the controls to you. There you are. You should be getting a dialog box right now.
I am there?
Yeah, you are there. You are good to go.
Awesome. Thank you, Alyssa. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Aaron Hines. For those of you who do not know me, I'm a tech integration coach here in the South Philadelphia and Delaware County regions. And today I'm going to be talking about YouTube. And for me, you know, I think we all know the power of YouTube as a one-stop shop to grab those teachable moments, those videos, and it really became for me one of my go-to resources. And so for this webinar, really what I wanted to focus on is some of the kind of advanced tools, some of the hidden things. And so that's really what I'm going to be focusing on today. And so the first thing I'm going to start off with is just a simple search. And so YouTube is now a Google company. And so with that, we have the ability to have really some more advanced search features in addition to just our standard search bar right here. So I did a search for animal cell, and I chose that because it's a really broad topic, and it's a topic that not only are there a lot of great videos out there for teachers or for classrooms, but this is also a really popular topic that kids will do videos on an animal cell or plant cell and put it in there. The downside for as an educator, well, what that means is I end up having to really scroll through a lot of different presentations to try to find the one I want. And I realized that as in the classroom, I spent a lot of time scanning presentations and looking for that right YouTube video. And so the filter tools I'm going to talk about really help kind of distill my search results, and I spend less time trying to skim videos to find the right one. So I just typed in animal cell and I hit search, and we notice I got a little under 5 million results. So needless to say, that's a lot to go through. And over on the right-hand side of our screen here, we can see the filter question. When I click that, notice the fact that it defaults to relevance. And a lot of times I've found that I have better results by either going and looking at the rating. And what this is doing is just sorting it. So whether basically Google or YouTube is sorted by what it thinks is the most relevant or the rating. Oftentimes the view count is a good indicator because this is one that, I mean, this is 6.2 million views. So I can see that already this one's got a lot of people are looking at it. And we notice that this one popped up into the beginning part, and this is a wrap created for a 6th grade classroom. So this might be ideal for me. And I got that just by switching my filter view. Now, the other thing that I found, if let's say, especially as I'm looking for tutorial videos, I've realized that sometimes a more popular or a more relevant or one that has a lot of view counts for, let's say I want to learn something about Google Classroom. Well, Google Classroom's been around now for about 2 years, and some of those earlier videos really aren't as current anymore because Google has updated Google Classroom. They've made changes to it, and they've added new features. So a lot of times I'll actually switch to, if it's time sensitive or if it's a news event, I'll switch to upload date. So that way, instead of showing me the more relevant ones or the ones that have the highest ratings, I want to see the ones, for example, this video got posted 11 hours ago. Now, in the animal cells world, the time it was posted isn't really in interest to me. But if I'm looking at a current event or if I'm looking at something else, that could be really important. We also know under the features column here, I have a lot of other ones. So I can look for an HD video. I can look for one that's 3D or 360. So if I'm using some Google Cardboard in my classroom, the 360 video or the 3D video is a great tool. But I can even do that, and I love doing this one for the roller coaster video. Not terribly educational, but it does do a great job of indicating for a 360 video. And the cool thing is, so I can play this video, and even though I'm not using Google goggles, I can use my mouse to click and drag around and actually see around. And so now the roller coaster one I just like because it's fun, but certainly there are, in fact, I wonder if there's an animal cell that we can do this with. We'll do this live. Animal cell 360, because that would be pretty cool. Oh, wow, look at this. A 360 guided tour of an animal cell. And I can manipulate it using my mouse. Now, if I had a Google Cardboard, I could play this and actually turn my head, and it would move the video. So I really like that tool. Coming back to our filter menu, of course, I also have the duration, long and short videos. I use this one all the time in my classroom because a lot of times I just wanted that short, quick intro to a lesson. I didn't need something that was super long. And then you can click multiple one of these, and we'll see that as I click, well, short, notice that cut my videos in half right there just by clicking on under 4 minutes. Certainly also I have the ability to select whether I'm looking for a playlist or a channel or a video. And then I can also sort by when it was updated. So that's just in the little filter button that's over here on the right-hand side. I have all these other options, and that a lot of times will speed up my finding that perfect YouTube video for my classroom. The next thing I want to go to, here I have a YouTube video that I've already started playing, and I want to talk about some of the controls in the video itself. So in the bottom right-hand corner of our YouTube, we have 4 buttons. Now we have the full screen button, the cast button if you have a Chromecast or if you're running Reflector 2. Theater mode, it changes the size. I don't see this as a huge one, but the tool that I am a big fan of is this little cogwheel right here. So if I click on this cogwheel, I have the first one up top is an autoplay button. Now we notice there's an autoplay button right here, and there's also an autoplay button over here. So this autoplay button, and I was actually, when I was in the classroom, I made sure that I actually defaulted this to off. And so no longer this one automatically turns off. This video right here, this button right here, affects all my YouTube videos. And what would happen is I would be playing a YouTube video in class. The video would end. I would go on with my teaching, forgetting the fact that I had autoplay, and next thing you know, another video started and it would interrupt me. Now, I could control that individually just with this little button right here. But a lot of times in the classroom, I would turn off autoplay. Now, it does take, I realized as I logged in and out of my browser, I would have to just keep an eye on this because sometimes it would turn back on for some reason. But this is a nice way of preventing that next video from turning on. The next video or option we have in the little cogwheel settings right here is the speed. So I'm a huge fan of the John Green and the Crash Course videos that he does for history, for science, but he has a problem of talking really, really quickly, and it can be difficult to follow what's going on because he's going so quick. And so what I will do for my students who maybe struggle with that, or even for me personally, is I'll slow it down and we'll watch it on 3/4 speed because then it slows it down a little easier to internalize and see what he's talking about. But conversely, I also have students that maybe it's a really slow video and maybe they like things to be at a faster pace. You can speed up the videos as well. So 1 1/4 or 1 1/2 speed. And so this is something that I find to be really helpful for fast videos, but also for my English language learners who maybe need that slower language so that way they have a better chance of understanding it. Speaking of English language learners and language, Google has built-in closed captioning. So in fact, as I play this video, there I'm talking, I have a little closed caption button right here. And now I did not tell it what I was saying in this video. This is Google's voice capture. So you will notice that it can be a little off sometimes because it's just going off of what is in the video itself. It also depends on the auto quality of the video. So if it's a really noisy video and there's a lot of stuff in the background, sometimes Google will struggle with this closed captioning. But for me in my classroom, if you didn't have headphones, you were watching it with closed captioning. I didn't want you going out in the hallway because I didn't know what you were going to do. And I didn't want to have 30 kids all playing the same video. And so I said, hey, if you're going to listen to the video, you don't have headphones, you're reading closed captioning. And they'd be like, that stinks, Mr. Hines. I'd be like, yeah, it does. Bring headphones. But we can change it. So it defaults to English. But there's also an auto translate button here. So we can see, let's see here. And we're going to do this live to see if it'll translate it into Armenian. There we go. So from our Armenian speakers out there, or Arabic speakers, excuse me, there you go. You can switch it back and forth. So I really like that. One of the other tools down here, notice it says quality. And it defaults to, right now, 480p, but it can go all the way up to a higher quality. So if you have a big screen and it's coming in a little blurry, sometimes check to see what quality it's on. Or if maybe your internet at your school isn't that hot that day, sometimes I've noticed that if you change the quality, notice it's a little blurry, but it's not pulling as much bandwidth for your connection. So sometimes the video will still play. It may not be as clear, but I know when in times of slow internet, I want to get that video up and going. And so certainly there's a closed captioning right here. You can turn it on and off, but there's also the hotkey kind of right here as well to turn it on and off. So moving down on our YouTube screen, we have some other controls. So we have like, dislike, we have this share button. Now, a lot of times we notice here's a video, this is very nice, but there's this intro screen. And we don't get until, let's see here, it looks like it's minute or 11 seconds in that the video starts playing. Now, certainly for 11 seconds, this isn't a major deal. But if, let's say there was a 3-minute intro to that video and I wanted the students to skip it. Now, certainly I could just tell them, hey, skip the first 3 minutes. Or down in this little share button, I click the share button and I have a little box where I can say, start the video at. And so here we have the YouTube, and it actually, this link now will start the video at that 15-second mark, or I can drag it in to the minute and 12 minutes. So this is nice because if you don't want students to watch something in the beginning, you can skip it automatically just in the link, which is really, really cool. Coming down across the bottom, we have the share. We also have an add to. Now, creating playlists is one of the ways that I find that teachers can really start to take advantage of YouTube, whether it's just a watch later or if it's a playlist for their class. And so each class can have their own playlist. You can actually even open it up where kids can contribute to the playlist. It can become a really collaborative feature, and I really, really like it. Moving across the screen, we have 3 little dots. Anytime we see 3 little dots, we know that's Google's, hey, there's a menu here. So if I click on that 3 little dots, I have the ability to get the entire transcript of the video. So this is the closed captioning. And in fact, if I click on part of the transcript, the video actually will jump right to that spot. So this is another great tool. Now, in there is the add translations. I love this for my foreign language classes. Find a video that doesn't have a translation, add a translation for that video, and that can be a really great assignment while also not only contributing to society. So I think that's a really exciting little feature there as well. And the last thing I want to show you, so I talked briefly about the playlists. And so here I'm going to jump into one of my playlists on the side. And so right off the bat, I can edit this playlist. I can reorder these videos. So if I want to assign a review unit, I can change the order of the videos. And when I go in here to settings, I can add collaborators. So this is where if I wanted to add students and they could add in, hey, find a video that you think is going to be really helpful for the upcoming test, add it into our class playlist. And then people can even add in comments. So if I come here, I can add in notes. So I say, hey, this video is really going to be helpful for our unit 2 test. So I can add in comments there. Students could add in comments. Again, it becomes a kind of a living thing, which I really like. In that settings, I can choose how I would like the videos to be ordered, whether I want them to be in date added or in popularity, or I like the manual one because that way I can drag and drop and say, hey, this is the first video I want you to watch. Here's the second. Here's the third. And of course, then I can share this playlist out to my students and through either Google Classroom, or I could put the link on my website. So I hope this was helpful and informative. You got some additional tips and tricks for YouTube. So I'm going to pass it back to you, Alyssa. There's 2 Bill Brannick, so I'm going to take a guess.
I unmuted myself there. Sorry about that. I forgot that there were 2 of us who were as Bill today. Aaron, do you have any favorite YouTube channels while I've got you? And we're switching screens here. Do you have any favorite YouTube channels?
I do.
Other than Crash Course, which was mine, and I popped that into the chat for the classroom.
You know what? I am a huge fan of Hip Hughes. HIP, and I will actually drop the link in the today's meet window. Hip Hughes does a ton of stuff for the history teachers in terms of flipped classroom and AP exams, but he also has, if you click on his playlist button, he has some really great videos for teachers. And those are ones that, in fact, it's called Teaching Stuff. He's got 35 videos for teachers. And it's a great way if you're looking at incorporating video into your classroom, flipping your classroom, blended learning. He has his top 5 teacher tools. He talks about kind of how he does what he does, 3 ways to engage students learning. So he's my other kind of one that my YouTube celebrity who I stalk. So I really do like Hip Hughes.
Very cool. Thanks for that shout out. I'm sure that when this goes on YouTube, there'll be an appreciation moment and a full circle moment. Also, too, I'm going to give a little bit of a plug to our AOP Tech newsletters in this moment because Annabelle Dossman, one of our other tech coaches for the Archdiocese of Philadelphia Schools, has an article next month in the upcoming May end of the year AOP Tech newsletter about YouTube and safe share and all the tips you can do too along with that. So as you can tell, our team's a big fan of utilizing YouTube and video instruction in a good variety of ways. So hopefully you got a great tip there. Next up, without further ado then, Rosemary, I'm going to pass the controls to you to tell us all about Plickers. So you should get a screen in the middle here in just a moment on your screen, and I will unmute you.
Okay, did that work?
You are good to go.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. I'm here to show you Plicker. Plicker is such an easy resource to use in your classroom, and it gives you so much data that can help you help your students. It's a free website, and all you need for Plicker is you need a computer that's hooked to a projector. You need either a phone or a tablet, something that you can read QR codes with, and the Plicker cards, which I'll show you those in a minute. So when you create your Plicker account, this is kind of like your home screen, and you start out, let me minimize that. You start out by making your class. When you make your class, so this is, you add your roster. I recommend that you put your kids in alphabetical order because it assigns them a number card. And I know in my classroom, I do use a number system. So it just helps with the consistency that my kids have that same number. You can reuse numbers in different classes. So you can see in my class that I have a 5th grade class and a 6th grade class, and there's like a number 1 in each class that corresponds with their number. After you make your class, the next thing you do is you have to give them their cards. And the cards are free, and they come in a variety of different sets. So the standard one is 40 cards and has 2 cards per sheet. And then they go to various font sizes and how many are in the set. I find the standard set works perfectly fine for my kids. You see that each QR code is unique. Each will have their own, and then you see their answer choices are based on how they hold the card. So if they were going to answer A, they would hold it so that the A was straight up here where the B is. And then as you kind of go through the cards, you realize that the letters are all in different places. And I find that that helps cut down on the kids that look around and want to see what their friends are answering, because this child might be holding up an A vertically, but as you scroll down, you'll have another child who their card has to be held horizontally to get the same answer. So it kind of cuts down on that. I need to look around and figure out what's going on before I answer. So I recommend you just print them out. I have my kids tape them in their planners, and that is more than enough. They do offer laminating ones, but I find laminating will increase a glare, which when I get to showing you how to scan and get responses, it causes problems. Let's see. So when you're ready to make questions, oops, sorry, wrong screen. This one. Questions are easy to make. You set up a library. You can make your folders as simple or as complex as you want. I'm a girl that likes her folders, so I have folders and folders and folders. All I suggest is that when you make your questions, make your folder first, because then it puts the questions right in, and rather than having to move them later. So you just open your folder, you hit new question, and it's that simple. You type in your question, you type in your answers, you pick which one's correct. If you're making multiple questions, press save and create new, and it will take you right back to this screen to make a new question. When you're made your last question, hit save, and it takes you back to your folder with all of your questions in it. Now, these were some sample questions I made. After you make them, you queue them. So you just press the calendar, add to queue, and you pick the class that you want. So you could set up, you know, a week, a lesson, a unit's worth of questions so that they're right at your fingertips whenever you need them. And since setup is usually minutes, it's really easy to just like pull this out. If you have those last 5 minutes at the end of class and you're like, I need to fill it, here you go. So after you queue it, you have your list of questions, and then this is where you need the app on your gadget. So either your iPad or your iPhone or your phone. It's a free app, so on your computer, so this computer I would have projecting for my kids to see, and I would go to this live view. And then on my phone, I would open the app, and since I can't show you my phone, I do have pictures. I just gotta find them. They're there. So this is what your first screen looked like. You have all your classes. You would pick your class, and you would see all the questions that you've queued. You don't have to pick them in the order they're in. You could pick whatever one that you want to, and then you find, oh, the easy questions are too easy. You can move on to your more challenging questions, or however makes sense for you. You press your question, and this is where I need to, oops, sorry. There we go. So you have your live question. You on my phone, I'm pressing the question I'm selecting, and it should come up. It's not coming up, but normally you would see a screen with the question so that the kids know how to respond. So when the kids are ready, I always tell them to think before they answer. They hold up their Plicker card. I always tell my kids, pick your answer, turn your card first, because as soon as you hold it up and start scanning, it's able to be registered. And I can't tell you how many times my kids are like, I didn't mean to pick that answer, because they just shove their card in the air without really thinking. As you're scanning, you're getting a ton of data right away. So you'll have your class list up here, and you can scroll through it. As you're scanning, the kids that are green are getting the answers right. The kids that are red are getting it wrong. That translates up here. Then you also get a graph that shows you how many are answering each choice. So right there, you're getting data to see who's getting what right. What do you need to reteach? Who do you need to reteach? Just a few more. When they're holding it up, I always tell them, here's my sweetheart, that, you know, she's putting her fingers in the way. I'm like, you can't have your fingers in the way. Make sure your fingers are out of the way. I tell them to hold it like this child back here, where it's 2 hands on the side and it holds it nice and straight. Sometimes I have my child that like wants to hold it one hand and it gets curved. That sometimes is a problem. The other big problem I know when I'm scanning is light. I have big windows in my classroom, so if the sun is coming directly in, it can mess with how easily it reads. You got to find that sweet spot in your classroom. I know I have to stand with my back to the windows so that the light isn't really directly hitting my phone as I'm scanning. Let's see. So from there, you can, wrong screen, sorry. From there, you get, let's see if my website loaded. There we go. My live is there. No, wait a minute. Live. See if my live view will show up now. Okay, there it goes. So that's what your kids see. And I'm going to do a quick scan of the Plicker cards so that you can see what happens when they answer. So I'm just going to really quick test scan these. And yes, it does read them that fast. So when your kids are answering, you will see right away which kids are. You can reveal the answer and it will tell you who got what right and wrong. I don't like to show that to my kids, so since this is projected, I don't, but my kids love the graph. They love being able to see who's answering how, but again, none of them know who got the answer right specifically. And then we talk about it, and then we can reveal the answer and say, okay, these guys got it right. Or we can do the reverse. I can reveal the answer and say, okay, why is this the best answer? After all is said and done, your kids have played, you can always go back through, and they have reports where they show you when you played the question, how many got it correct. So if I scroll through, you can see, different days. If I go down, I can see, okay, my 5th grade really answered this question well. I don't need to spend tons more time reviewing it versus something that maybe they didn't get as well.
Hey,
So it does give you a lot of data. The kids are really engaged when they're playing because, again, it doesn't give points and it doesn't give a winner, but they make it about competing with themselves. And, I want to get more right than I got last time. I've also done it where I've used the same questions 2 or 3 times and we compare our previous answers to this answer. And they get really excited when they see, hey, we made progress, or I didn't get it right the first time, but I got it right this time. So even though there aren't points or winners, they can make it a way that they are really engaged and, sorry, I lost my train of thought. They're really engaged and they are using it to help them understand. So that's Plicker, and I hope you go out and use it.
Rosemary, this is Aaron. We have a couple questions that just popped in the chat window quickly. Would you be okay if I toss you 2 of the questions?
Sure.
Awesome.
You just have to walk me through where to find them.
So we had one person asked, how are you scanning the cards with your phone? So that's the first one. And the second one is, can you just show quickly how you assign the Plickers to the students?
Okay, let me start with how the Plickers get assigned. Let me go to my library. So again, when you make your class, you add your roster and you just add their names. You can either do it first and last or last comma first. I just type the first child in first and work my way down my class list. So I made a fake class. So the first name I typed in was Hermione Granger. The last name I typed in was Peter Pensit. Yeah. So that was the order, and since that was the order I typed it in, that's how they got assigned the numbers. When they get their card, the card doesn't have their name on it, it just has their number on it. So the number kind of corresponds to what's already on the website. And since I use a number system, they just know that's their number. And then the other question with what it looks like when I'm scanning with the phone. Again, this is what I will see on my phone. When I hit this, there's a scan button. Let me see if I can find it. Sorry, I don't have it. There, when you pick your question, it will come up on your phone, and then there'll be a blue button that says scan, and it will access your camera, or yeah, your camera. And this is literally what I see on my phone. I just took a screenshot on my phone one day when I was using with my kids. And I'm just moving my phone around the room to reach the different kids in the classroom. Sometimes I have to move a little closer or a little further away, again, depending on the glare or the light. You can see that in my classroom I have my lights half on, half off at this point so that it reads a little better, but this is what I see on my phone. Any other questions, Aaron?
No, I think that's awesome. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
How do you when you do the kids keep I noticed that you have them in the front pocket of their binders?
It's in the back page of their planner, and I just tape them on with Scotch tape.
Oh,
They
that's
always have their
awesome.
planner.
So
So
they always have their card.
they always have their card. And then if they go to their science and social studies teacher and she wants to use Plickr, she can just assign them the same number in her classes, and they don't even need a new card. It's the same card for all the classes.
Oh, that's really cool. I did not know that. Well, thank you, Rosemary. This was awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome, Rosemary. I'm going to take that. Thanks for sharing about that. I love Plickers. So when I heard that you were sharing this, I was so excited because it's one of my longtime favorite tools, because I think it's just so flexible, and such a perfect tool for, to keep in your back pocket for, whenever it is that you need that. I would say my tip on them would be not to laminate them, because sometimes the laminating is too shiny with the glare, much like the light in the windows that you experienced there. So I am such a fan of that. So thank you for sharing about that this evening. Annabelle, I'm going to toss it to you for a moment. Can you give us a little bit of background of some of the things we've been chatting about in the today's meet? I just blanked on that name. Today's meet.
Absolutely. Well, going back to Erin's presentation, a lot of comments on YouTube. It's great to see that there's a lot of you who are using the videos in your classroom. So a lot of different channels that are being used. I know I've used Nat Geo a lot in the classroom for social studies and science. They have great videos. And another one that I've used is Numberphile. It's a channel with math videos and all about numbers. So it kind of gets the students excited about how numbers are used in the real world. So they're really interesting videos that you can use for math. And those two channels as well, or those videos from those two channels work really well with Edpuzzle. So if you're using, I know we talked a little bit about Edpuzzle in our last webinar, but those two channels work very well, and they're supported in Edpuzzle, so you can use those two in conjunction. Somebody else also talked about YouTube Red, using that in the classroom, which is good, but it's also, we wish it was free, and just wonderful things about Plickers. So a lot of chatting and a lot of sharing about what using these two tools so far.
Awesome. So much good things happening in that today's meet. So if you are not in there, be sure to jump on over and share with us what tools you're using right now in your teacher toolkit, and your digital toolkit that's really blowing you out of the water. Something that, as we're in April, that you can reflect upon and say, you know what? I'm definitely going to use this next school year, and I want to spread the word about it. So don't be afraid to shout out those suggestions as well. So with that, we're going to move into our final tool, and I'll tell you a little about Google Keep later on here, but we're going to move to our final tool here, Flipgrid, and Karen's going to share with us about her love, and she really does have an outstanding, passionate love. It's so contagious for Flipgrid. So we have some, on the back end, some technical difficulties happening, so I'm going to do some slide flipping, and Karen's going to be the voice for you here. So I am going to flip over to your screen, and you can take it away, and I will be your controls for you, Karen.
Am I okay to start?
You are.
Okay. All right, so we've had some technical difficulties, but the team is wonderful, and we're making it work however we can. I'd like to talk to you about Flipgrid. It's a great platform. Their tagline is amplifying student voice through video, and that's exactly what you do. So you can go to the next. So what is Flipgrid? Well, it's a website that allows teachers to create grids of short discussion-style questions that students respond to through recorded videos. And it really is like a message board where teachers pose questions and students respond through videos. And the responses appear in a tiled grid, which you'll see in a moment. The nice thing is that teachers can provide feedback to students via video. So if a student turns in a video, the teacher can respond via video, and it really is so much quicker to be able to talk for 15 seconds and say a lot to the kids. And students can also respond to each other, which they enjoy thoroughly. You can get a free version, which is one class, and then within your one class grid, you can have as many topics as you want, or you can have a paid version, which my home and school paid for my membership, and $65 really is very reasonable. So, okay, thank you. You can go ahead. Here's what a tiled grid looks like. That's a stock photo. Your students' photos would be where those pictures are. And you can see their smiling faces, and that's how your kids will look. Would it be okay if we jumped into the platform?
Yes, we can. I'm logged into my Flipgrid. Sorry, I had to unmute myself.
Okay, so this, unfortunately, because Alyssa, do you have an account? If you do, maybe
I'm logged in.
Oh, you have one there. Okay. So you can see that Alyssa has a lot of time of engagement there. And right where all those lists there is one grid. And the list are all the different topics. So when you want to, well, you can see too that there are some red squares that say inactive. The children cannot see those topics. However, the green squares that say active, they are ready to accept responses. If you click on one of the green squares in the drop down where it says active, you'll see your other choices. If you make it frozen, the kids can see the topic, but it won't accept their responses. So let's say that you want to create a new topic. You click on the blue rectangle that says new topic up in the sort of top left there of your screen. There you go. And you fill in all of the relevant information. You give it a title. You can choose their response time. It can go up to 5 minutes, which is a really long time. I usually do 30 seconds to a minute and a half. It depends, but you can see that there's a wide range of choices there. To the right of that, there's a toggle. If you want to check out their responses before they're visible to their classmates, you can toggle that on. It depends. If we're doing just a fun one, I don't usually moderate their responses, but if it's for a grade, I usually do moderate before I have it be public. And then if you just scroll down a little bit, that text box there is where you can add in your question that you want to ask the kids to answer via video. It can be any subject. It's really a very versatile platform. And then if you scroll down after we finish looking at our nice question, tell us your favorite digital tools. There's all kinds. You can input a video for them to watch and then respond to that. You can put all sorts of things. When you're talking about responding to your students, which is a little bit further down in the topic setup, there we go, response features. You can have your kids do stickers and drawings, stickers only. I noticed, I have seen some rubrics for younger children where the teachers specify that you may use 3 stickers. You must talk for this long. If I were able to have my screen up, you would see that some of my kids cover their entire face in stickers. And if their name was not on the tile, I wouldn't know who it was. Those are the fun ones. I let them go crazy. Usually I just say 1 or 2. And then all the way down at the bottom, the very last thing that you want to do is decide what kind of feedback you want to give. There's basic feedback. And then if you click on custom feedback, you can see that you can add your own criteria, and they will only allow you to have up to 10 points, but you can give your criteria a title, and then I just will type maybe 3 different things that I want to see. You talked for 30 seconds, 2 points. You had an introductory statement, 2 points, and I'll have it add up to 10. I do not always grade my responses, but sometimes I'll give a quiz and then I'll have like a 10-point video response in addition to the quiz. So again, it's very versatile. Let's see, maybe we could, there you go, there's your criteria. So let's go back to our dashboard, and there's your activity again. The kids love seeing 2 hours and 38 minutes of activities, and it gives you an engagement fact. That's how long it takes to run a marathon in record time. They love, as we do more and more videos, they love to see what that time frame, what little fun fact it goes it goes with. Let's see. Oh, I know. And maybe if we click on a topic again, I just want to show the co-pilot option. So my grids and then a topic. Right there to the right of the profile picture where it says Mr. Vito's board, you see Add Co-Pilots. That's a new feature. If you have grade partners who are members, they can have the free membership or a paid membership. It doesn't matter. You can add them as a co-pilot, and then their class and your class can collaborate on videos. We're doing that right now in 7th grade. We're all reading the same novel. I've added my 2 grade partners as co-pilots, and then I can pose a question. My kids respond to it via video. I share it with my co-pilots, and then their kids can respond to my kids. And it's fun because they're with their homeroom all day long, and they love to be able to interact with the other kids in their grade. So that's a nice new feature. One more thing up at the top, if we X out of that, you see Discovery. That's a discovery library, and there are so many topics. You do not need to reinvent the wheel. I actually found a great one on dystopian literature, and it can also just stimulate ideas for yourself to come up with things for your class. And then to the right of Discovery is the connections, and you can actually make global connections by searching for topic, location, and you can connect with people who are not in your school. Maybe you want to connect even with just a local school of kids with the same grade, California. It's really fun to connect with people from different locations. Would we be able to go back into my slideshow? Thank you. And you can go, there we go. So what can you do with Flipgrid? Well, I'm not going to recite all of these, but there are so many options. If you are a math teacher, they could have a whiteboard and demonstrate a math problem in front of the webcam, and so that you can see their face and the whiteboard and talk their way through it. And then if you're doing a particularly difficult concept, they can share it with their peers, and maybe someone who really doesn't get it will get some good tips. Appreciation and thank you card videos. Maybe it's Secretary's Appreciation Day and your whole class each makes a video. Because these can be shared out to anyone, anyone can view them, just not everyone can create them without a membership. You could do special messages. I'm going to have my 7th graders make advice to next year's class at the end of the year and share it with my 6th grade co-teachers so that their kids, those end of days where you have nothing to do but clean your classroom, break out the devices and watch some Flipgrid videos on what to expect. You'll get this link, of course, after the webinar, and you can take your time and go through here and check out some of these ideas. And if you follow Flipgrid Fever or Flipgrid on Twitter, there are always creative ideas on there for you. I don't know if I have one more slide with resources. Nope. Oh, I have the Netiquette poster. Good. I found this from Melissa Dills on Twitter. It's especially nice for younger kids, but it's really important for you to teach your children the appropriate way to respond to a video and especially to respond to each other. My 8th graders like to say, dude, that was awesome, but that's not really an appropriate response. So this little Netiquette poster is nice to print out, hang in your classroom, post it on Google Classroom. It's a nice feature to have. And maybe I do have a resources slide. Or not. I might. Yep, I do. So when you get this link, feel free to click on any of those. There are some other really great ideas on those links. And I don't know how long I've been talking, but I think that I've summed it up. And I encourage you to try Flipgrid. Get the free version and try it out with your kids. They'll love it. It's really a lot of fun. So thanks so much.
Karen, that was wonderful. We did have 2 questions that popped in the chat window.
Sure.
The first question, how was the setting up, and this is, Alyssa, you might need to jump back into the Flipgrid. Can you talk a little bit about how you set up the rosters for your students?
Actually, you don't need to set up a roster. When they go to log in, you can just give them a code. I chose my classroom homerooms on my own dashboard, and all they need is a code. If I gave the principal a code to my 8C homeroom, her face would show up in their video. So there's no roster setup, only a code. which I post in Google Classroom, but you can put it on your website and they can click on it and there is their directions. So it's really user-friendly.
And that's awesome. And the second question that came through was, well, the question was, can this be used on an iPad? And so I guess maybe how do you as a teacher interact with Flipgrid, and then how do your students interact with the Flipgrid?
We all use Chromebooks. I have a personal Chromebook and the kids use Chromebooks and it has a webcam. I am almost positive back on my second slide at the bottom, I think it says that there is an app. So you can use it on the iPad. Let's see. We're scrolling backwards at the bottom. Web-based as well as, yep, free app, Android and iOS. So you can certainly use it with the iPad.
That's excellent. Thank you, sir. And just, I guess, in closing, I mean, talk to me about the student engagement for your kids when you started using Flipgrid.
They begged me to do it every single day.
That's awesome.
They really did. I mean, we started off with an easy one like poetry versus prose, and they just had to respond as to which one they liked better and why. And then it was really cute to watch the responses to each other because they were trying to be so grown up and saying, well, I really agree with you on this and such. And they love it. For parent-teacher conferences, I had them all make a video on their year so far. We shared it via a QR code. I had iPads out and parents could scan the QR code and watch their kids' videos while they were waiting for their turn. So the kids love it. Love it.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing this. This is an incredible resource, and I love the fact that you were able to incorporate the parents and to see what's going on, what their kids are doing, the conversations, the feedback. That's really, really exciting. So thank you so much. And I know that and for our viewers out there, we had a lot of little background technical issues, and so thank you, Karen, for your persistence and making it happen. So kudos.
Thank you guys for helping me.
And that being said, I'm going to pass this back to Alyssa.
I am here and ready for you. We teachers, we are resourceful bunches. We make things work. We live and breathe that every single day. So again, thank you to Karen on that. I think it's super awesome that your home and school paid for that subscription. And that's an awesome idea. You know, we sometimes talk about as teachers, how do we pay for all these subscriptions? What do we do? And maybe sometimes it's appealing to a home and school, or you have that parent who says, you know, I'd like to make a donation. What is it that you need? You know, that could be something, especially if you try this free version of Flipgrid. I just myself got upgraded to the full Flipgrid version. I'm a Flipgrid ambassador, and they have a great ambassador program, if that interests you. And I learned something that I did not know today from Karen about the Copilot, which is so cool. So Karen, thank you for sharing that too, because now I learned something that I didn't know, and I cannot wait to use that. So I want to tell you a little bit about Google Keep and what we're doing here. So when we first planned these webinars, our thought was to have 4 folks on here, but as you can see, we are nearing 8 o'clock, and it is fast on the presenter side to cover all that we want to cover in a short amount of time. So we are presenting to you, and when you get your webinar link tomorrow with the archive and resources from our presenters, you'll also get a video called Overtime with Bill, and Bill will walk you through Google Keep, and he has a great video for Overtime with Bill. So he will be sharing that with you, and you will be able to kind of explore that at your own pace there. But it's a tool that Bill is very passionate about, and our team is using in lots of different ways. So it's a great feature there for you. And I think that's the thing that I hope that you get out of this webinar this evening, and if you joined us in March as well for that digital tools snapshot, is that all the teachers and educators who presented to us are just so passionate about what they're using. So I hope that you are inspired and encouraged by everyone's passion and excitement. It really has shined through with everyone we've had in the past 2 webinars as panelists, and that's just a wonderful thing when we get to share what we're passionate about and what a role model we're being as connected educators for our students in doing so. So with that, I want to give a shout out to all of our AOP Tech platforms here. We can actually, and I missed this on here, we are aoptech.org, but if you go to the weebly.org.com, you still get to us. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, and Instagram. As always, your tech coaching team is here to support you in any way, shape, or form that you can. Feel free to reach out to us. And so with that, we'll conclude our webinar this evening. Thanks to Aaron and Annabelle for helping out here this evening and being on our back end. Annabelle was running today's Meet chat over there, and Aaron as well. And thank you to our panelists, Rosemary and Karen, for sharing your passion and your expertise and all things good digital tools. So I hope everyone has a wonderful evening, and I hope that you enjoyed our 2017-2018 Connected Educator webinar offerings, and we will see you back with big and exciting things in the fall. Thanks, everyone.